I'm Jeff Kushmerek. I'm the Chief Product Officer for flashnotes.com. We are an online marketplace to help students sell their course materials to each other, and basically they're helping themselves by selling material, and they're helping students by doing better in their classes. So
Right.
I oversee all of the product development. Not only am I the Chief Product Officer, I have design and test underneath me, because that way I'm sort of that final gatekeeper to say, yes, that looks great. And I'm also the Scrum Master. So at a startup, you do lots of little things, and I love doing that. That way I never have to say what's going on with X, Y, and Z. So, yeah.
So the path of leadership for you has been quite a colorful one. Tell us the abbreviated
You mean the
version.
hair I have to color because I'm gray? Or,
That's right. Tell us a little bit about how you've kind of stepped through that.
Sure. I actually started off as a developer back in the 90s. I was doing a lot of database work for law firms. They were moving from paper into electronics. You represent Ford, and Ford's always getting sued for X, or this paper is getting always so. So I always have been in this sort of information access problem. I was doing the development. I was then doing pre and post sales development for another company, and then we were working on an API for financial companies. But in that day, everything was HTML and div tags. And then all of a sudden, this crazy little thing called XML came around, and they said, we love your stuff, but you got to be XML, and you got to be this, and you got to be that, got to be .NET, and these are our biggest customers. So I kept filtering these features back into the product team, and they're like, something? You're the only guy who's working on this stuff. We would love it if you could be the product manager for that. And I stepped into that role, and I did that, and then I switched over to another company called Endeca, which, fast forward to 2 or 3 years ago, they were sold to Oracle, but they were really solving this information access problem. There's so much data that's starting to accumulate on the web. How do we get users to what they want in 3 clicks? So they created this search and browse technology. I was working in product there, and then we stopped working. Well, we always were working on some of these sort of lower level customers with small problems, but then our success started getting us into really big problems. And because I knew what we were doing technically and via the product with some of our analytical products as well, that they asked me to go into the professional services team in sort of that higher level client management,
Right.
but pre-salesy type of role as well too. So we started working with all the the big top 100 retailers. Also had an analytical product. So we did that for a while. It was great. It was awesome. And then another company called Bright Cove came along. They were like right next door to us in Cambridge. And they had just started a small little creative shop out of a team, and they were like, let's see how it works. And then they're like, wow, this is actually working really well. We don't know what we're doing with professional services. Let's go find somebody that knows professional services. Because there was a period, and I hate to sound like resume reading, but there was a period where at Endeca we were just going through this massive growth spurt. Like we're a team of 25, and now we need to be a team of 100. Globally, and so I was actually taken out of the service line, to work on this team that was basically best processes to get up to the speed.
Yeah.
That's when you start learning about budgets and profitability and partners and all this other stuff. So it took that knowledge to Bright Cove, and we just started. We grew that team from 4 to 25, a nice big P&L. We went public. And then, the life of a services person, as you know, is a lot of travel.
Right.
I had my 3rd daughter was born, and suddenly I didn't feel like being in China one week and Germany the next week for a global company. So I just was like, maybe I want to get back into product. I still felt like we were always doing product work with our customers, right? What's your requirements? We can go build that for you. We're an adjunct part of your product team for a little while. We were working with all their product owners and sometimes even their graphic designers and their QA people. We were just kind of bolted in there. Mm-hmm. So it seemed like a natural thing. I went to go work, but I was still on the edge. So this fledgling music company called me up and said, we're having problems with our product. I think we really kind of focused in the wrong area. We want to give it another shot. There's not too many people with consumer-facing experience in the Boston area. It's just like we just build enterprise apps in this area. So I said, sure. And I love music. And if I can't get my act together on music and product, it's back into the services world, and I'll see my daughters when they're 15. So I wound up loving what I was doing, getting back, talking to users, doing all that fun stuff, getting up to speed with this great MVP, minimum viable product philosophy. That's how we roll in services. What do you need built right now? Sure. You want 15 things, you gave me a budget for 10, let's work it out here. You have this and you have that. So, so I took that philosophy and we rolled with it. The music thing didn't work out that great, but Flashnotes called up and they said, you know, we've got this idea and we want to bring video into it, and we heard that you're the guy, because Brightcove is mainly video, and I actually worked for me because it's really the blend of the stuff I was working on, commerce, video, and just getting back
Everything
into
led
it.
to this.
Yeah, so a little long, but that's the colorful history.
Sure. Well, so obviously when you're growing up, you don't necessarily think of yourself as a product lead or product owner.
Right.
At what point did you have that realization that you were in a leadership role?
When you asked me to speak? No. Let's see, I would say...
Or have you always been a leader and this just happened to be another, you know, culmination of that?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, you feel weird saying I've always been a leader. I'm not gonna say I've always been a leader, but I've always been asked to fill in whatever the most important thing is. Like, there's a problem, we need you to step in and fix it. So first it was problem solver, and then I think it was really when I stepped into that role at Endeco where it was like, we're trying to grow this, we want all the best practices, we want all of that. I was sort of like the lead senior project manager for a while and helping mentoring people, so I recognized that, like, oh, maybe I'm actually have something to give here. And then I noticed that, so my problem was always that I always just thought this is what everybody else is thinking. Like, oh, that's easy, you know, you just go in, you talk to the customer, they tell you, want this, come on. And so when I started managing more project managers at Brightcove, mentoring more, that's when I was like, okay, I'm not just BSing, there's actually stuff that is transferable knowledge here, and I actually really enjoyed that. And not just for PMs, and then it was like I started having to hire more managers underneath me. You know, you always have that hire the best developer and suddenly they're dev managing now, so you're working with them on their dev skills and stuff. So, and then, you know, it just sort of, it was a slow progression where I'm suddenly going to exec staff a lot more at a public company. And then when I joined that music company, we're looking to you to make these decisions. And now suddenly it's like, we need you, the old guy, to help out.
Seasoned, I heard. Seasoned is the word.
Seasoned, yes. Seasoned leader to help come in with that pattern recognition to help say, yeah, that's great, what I've seen is X, Y, and Z, and that's the role I actually really enjoy doing right now.
So between being just a developer and now where you are as this chief product officer, the person, the personality, the characteristics, do you remember any like big moments where you thought to yourself, shit, there's something I got to really work on, or that's a thing I got to change in my personality?
There's lots of them.
Too many to tell?
No.
We can edit.
My big problem, and I remember having a one-on-one, not big problem, but like the thing I always work on is being too high at one point and too low the next. And when I was a developer, it wasn't...
You mean in terms of energy, or?
In terms of like, yeah, like everybody knew when I broke something in code because my fist just rattled the desk and everything on my 5 coffee cups rattled.
So this emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, so it was always work on that emotional roller coaster, right? And it's great for sports because you flip that switch and you go crazy. And you're like, hey, how's it going? Oh, okay, the ball's back over here. Let's go kill somebody again. So, but it's like reining that all in and keeping your emotions in check, and then realizing that it is a roller coaster. Everything's a roller coaster. And people don't respect you if you're flying off the handle and saying, that's bullshit and this and that. And then suddenly when you're leading people on projects, or even if you're just the project manager and something really bad happens, just to be like, you know, these things have a way of working themselves out.
Yeah.
You see when you freak out, other people have that look in their face, and that's like terrible. It's like, I don't want to see daddy yell, you know? It's like, and so you realize suddenly at some point that you've got to control your emotional outbursts, or it has a direct impact on other people.
Right. Being a good leader is managing those
exactly,
things.
Exactly. And so always working on that. Now, I will say that you should not stop your passion.
Right.
And there was always that like, well, you got all in somebody's face in exec staff. And I'm like, yeah, because he was wrong.
Right.
And we really had to go down that path. And yes, I will step back, and you can't take things personally. I know, and we talk about great stuff, and we've gone over great stuff in these meetings in the previous event as well too. You know, and we all smile and we be nice and friendly to each other. We should be that and everything. But I think there's a point too where it's okay to be passionate and to occasionally show that you can get angry about something, but it's about you care. It's not like, right. I hate you, right? It's like, I really don't think that's a good idea. I'm gonna calm down, I'll talk about it, but this is why. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just passionate about the issue. So yeah, that's the thing I still work on. Hopefully I've done better.
You're doing a great job. So then describing yourself in terms of the style of leadership, how would you do that to somebody?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna ever be Jack Walsh or Joe Walsh in GE and Fortune 500 company. Like, I know right now, I love what I'm doing, which is being myself, working with small teams. I'm going to be dropping 30 Rock and Big Lebowski quotes, and I'm sorry, that won't get me into the boardroom at some of these larger companies. Like, I'm not going to be in Fidelity's. I have friends that are doing awesome at big companies, and they button it up, and they wear the suits every day. That's awesome. I'm very happy for them. I would rather have a couple drinks and let it fly. Saw a little bit of that today, but never let it go crazy out of hand and stuff like that. So it's a little, you know, I am myself, and I'm very happy where I am, and I never, you know, say, oh, I should have really toned it down or reined it back in there and stuff like that.
So when you're hiring, are you looking for the similar qualities?
Yeah. Am I looking for similar qualities? Yeah, you know, I like to, you know, everybody fills a different role, so I'm not gonna say if they don't laugh at my jokes, they're out the door. But you do, it's a startup, and like we mentioned upstairs that, you know, we're with each other more than with our families sometimes, unfortunately. So you do kind of have to work with people that you're going to enjoy working with, but not everybody's got to be knee slapping. Somebody's got that like slight sardonic smile, a little Mona Lisa smile, and you say something funny, and it's the, are they not on that other opposite end of like, that person's a jerk, but man, they can design their way out of a paper bag. It's not going to work out for you, you know? And hopefully they're going to say, that guy was a little bit too much, and I appreciate that. Like, I remember I was talking to somebody doing my thing during an interview, and I was like, yeah, so you know, we're going to compile our interview feedback and see what each other, and we really want to be fast in our responses back. And this guy was like, not in any rush, and I was like, okay, he's not going to be here, you know what I mean? And you kind of, and that's great. And just like I said, you should never be in that massive rush to hire the wrong person. That person who's dying for a job because he's got mouth to feed should never jump into the wrong thing because he's going to be unhappy with me and my style, or unhappy with the job that's put in front of him as well.
So looking for complementary skills as well. And
yeah. I mean, we should always, fill in those holes, right? You don't want people who are just going to be a replica of yourself as well, too.
And have a bloody good sense of humor at the same time.
You know, everybody should bring something to the table, right?
It's what gets you through, right?
Yeah, it's just, it's a great thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, you look around and everybody's having a great time, or, you know, the introverts can at least internally be laughing and enjoying the fact that they like the environment, but they don't have to be sitting there, you know, doing what they think they have to do to fit in. They could be enjoying the fact they're in a loose environment. And that's, if I was very succinct, I would have said I keep it loose. So I think I got my answer. I keep it loose, Richard, that's what I do.
So, anything that you do over, anything you would like to do again?
I got interviewed yesterday and somebody asked me this, and I came across a little bit of an inappropriate metaphor, but we can edit it out, as they say.
There's nothing inappropriate here.
There's nothing inappropriate here. So my answer is I would do nothing different. Okay, So that's the cool thing. Like that Kushmerek's a cool cat, right?
Yeah, he's got no regrets.
No regrets. And my metaphor is this. I went to a high school reunion.
This is not a metaphor, this is a real story.
You're right. I always mess up that metaphor, simile thing. So
This is a memory, this is just a complicated memory.
I took a very convoluted, complicated memory and made it applicable.
I'll make it a metaphor.
Okay. Maybe we'll turn this into a college memory. And so somebody says something on a Facebook comment, you're not connected to them, like, that's the girl I really messed up with, right?
Yeah.
I wish I didn't drink as much. I wish I didn't say X, Y, and Z or do X, Y, and Z that broke that up. I don't think that way. I think I love my wife. I love my 3 children. And if I had done that right thing with that person,
You wouldn't be where you are today.
exactly.
Right.
And so I'll take it to the creative director discussion that I had with you probably like 6 months ago. I was looking for this be-all, end-all character. I need you to do my perfect UX. I need you to do my perfect UI, do the marketing stuff, and it's not there, right? I hired somebody, it didn't work out. Now I could say, I hired the wrong person. I'm such a jerk, I should have thought about this. Now I'm in a position where your team went off and created exactly what I looked for, gave me that additional buttressing of expert knowledge and brought my thoughts up to where they need to be for 2014. And then I can then bring somebody young and passionate and just hire this guy who's just so excited to be working for us. And I'm not saying, guess what?
Yeah.
Let's turn this whole site around for us.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God. And so I'm very happy with how
No
everything's
regrets, I
worked
like
out.
it.
No regrets.
Cool. Jeff, good talking to you.
Anytime, man.
Thanks, man.
You got it.